Hey, I'm Daniel, and you found my podcast, The Filmcraziest Show, on YouTube. For today's conversation, I was able to speak with Katherine Barrell and Cody Thompson about their film Cabin Connection, which is a romance film that is kind of Christmas adjacent, as we kind of discuss. The film premiered on the Super Channel in Canada on Saturday, January 15th, and is available to watch on demand on the Super Channel in Canada. Links to more info will be in the description below, and let's get right into this conversation. Hey guys, how's it going?
Great.
Good, Daniel. How are you?
Good. Nice to meet you. Glad to be chatting today about Cabin Connection.
Well, thanks for having us.
Yeah, I hope you guys are braving the Ontario weather. Okay.
Awesome, though. Waking up to that huge. I mean, if you didn't have to go anywhere today, it's pretty awesome. I can imagine if you get in a car, but it's so beautiful outside with all that snow.
It is. Yeah, I'm just looking outside and it's just white.
White everywhere.
I'm not really braving anything today. I'm being unbrave and I'm staying indoors.
But
it's a brave decision to do that, I think.
I'm brave in my thinking, not going outside, basically.
Exactly. Now, I'd love to start with a non-Cabin Connection question, just because I don't know when it will come up naturally. But for you, Cody, I noticed that your first credit was as a Yankee player in Bad News Bears from 2005. So I'd love to ask, which one were you? Did you have any lines, and were you involved in that brawl at home plate?
You know what? It's funny that you mentioned that. That credit's not mine. I've been trying to pull that credit off of IMDb. So it's actually not my credit. There was some other Cody Thompson that was out there. And it's funny because, it's I think the age might line up. I haven't seen the film, but no, I've been trying to pull a couple of credits off of IMDb. My first credit was actually a tiny little short film I shot in Calgary called Exits. But mostly my film career really took off here when I booked Antisocial, this little indie horror film is sort of the first real, foray into it all.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah, that's the welcome to the world of IMDb, just sort of falsely crediting me or, not crediting. I don't have any of those issues.
Yeah, IMDb is not always the most accurate.
No, fair enough. I was trying to find a kid that looked like you, and I was like, okay, I think I found him, but that's really funny.
Oh, we'll just still hold it onto him. No, that was me. And that poor kid who played that role is just now what am I, chopped liver?
Exactly.
The real Cody Thompson he's suffering somewhere.
Probably. Now, I'd love to ask, have you guys worked together before?
We have.
Yeah.
To be fair, okay, we worked on a movie together in Montreal 6 years ago.
2013 was it?
Oh my gosh!
I don't even remember. I know you might be right. It might be 20. I don't know. 2015. 2015 actually. That sounds right.
Called Girls' Night Out. But to be fair, we only had one day together.
Yeah.
And we were both in the movie a good amount, but our characters only crossed for one scene.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
Cody remembered. I did not. And
I'm holding cat's feet to the fire here. Yeah, I'm holding cat's feet to the fire because it was obviously when you work with someone, and first day on set with Kat, we were doing this sort of this exterior snow scene, and I'm trying to sort of build a bridge with Kat and be like, oh, Kat, actually, we worked together in this movie back in 2015, 2016. And she was like, oh, wow, that's so crazy. And I'm like,
of course.
Must be nice. You're just booking a million things a year, and was still probably serving at that point.
Can I ask you for real? Did you look it up and go, oh, Kat was in, or did you remember?
I remembered. So another thing too, Kat, I did remember, because guess what? I asked you if I could sit down and chat with you about making my short film. And you gave me advice on my short film.
That's right.
That helped me get it made too. So I appreciate that. I didn't even bring that up. So no, I got an elephant's memory over here.
You do have an elephant's memory. I have a garbage memory. It's horrible. I'm sorry for not remembering Girls' Night Out.
Oh no, it's all good. Both of our characters suffer pretty brutally in the film.
We do.
So,
true.
There's camaraderie there.
Much better fate in Cabin Connection, I think.
Yeah. What's it like playing that romantic aspect again or together in Cabin Connection and actually remembering this time?
Well, you know, we didn't play romance in the other one, that's for sure. It was a lot of murder.
Okay.
More secretive romance.
Very different movie. It was lovely. I mean, Cody's such an amazing acting partner and a beautiful person, and he's kind and open-minded and considerate and humble and all the things that you want in someone you spend 14 hours a day with, and you know, in you know, the middle of winter, and it's for 3 weeks at a time, and that you have to build a bond with, because sometimes you have people who you have to be in love with who you don't even like as a person, and then it's really hard and then it really sucks. But no, it was an absolute pleasure working with Cody, and I'm so grateful that we actually got to connect and spend a significant amount of time together, rather than just that one day when we both died. That was not as fun as this.
See, I had a completely different feeling. Kat is just a handful. No, I'm kidding. You know, it's funny. I was going to mention on another thing. Kat obviously was pregnant. I guess we'll get into that later. But like, you were so inspiring to me that way, because I think I was kind of nitpicky about some small stuff. And you're like, oh yeah, I got like 4 hours of sleep and I was puking, and I'm like, oh my God, I have no foot to stand on when it comes to complaining about anything. And like, you came in and you like you would say, I imagine, like in a bit of rough shape, and yet you still had such a good attitude. And honestly, Kat, like, you're very inspiring that way, to come in with a little bit of adversity against you and still kind of set a great example. And that carried through the whole shoot for me, honestly, like kind of riding your mentality that way. And yeah, it made it really easy to work with you, and that you do have that kind of natural humility, and you're a good quiet leader, I'll say, in that regard on set, and it made it really easy to work with you as well.
That's very sweet, Cody. That means a lot to me. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Oh, that's awesome. And like, kind of speaking of quiet leader, maybe I'll go off from that. Just ask if what do you guys like relate to about your characters, and what are some of your differences from your characters?
You want to take this, Kat?
Yeah, sure, I can go first. I think with Hannah, what I really liked about Hannah is I'm a pretty I'd like a very independent person. And I think for me, you know, my spouse is very, very supportive of my independence and doing my own thing and carving my own path. And I think for me, what I identified with Hannah is I remember having relationships in the past where that was very much not the case. And I would feel sort of suffocated. And I think Hannah has that similar quality of like, she really needs a partner that's going to support her and encourage her and cheer her on, but not demand that she be anything other than herself or hold herself back in certain ways because it makes them uncomfortable. Like, I think especially she's very career focused. She loves what she does. She lives on her own in a big city. Like, she's very much her own woman. And I think that's probably part of the reason that maybe it was difficult for her to find the right match, because I think it's somebody special who lifts you up and nurtures your light without ever getting intimidated by it. And I think that that's something in Hannah that I really identified with, and I really loved, because I think we need to see more characters like that. And I was happy to see it in her.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Cody, what about you? Oh, jinx.
I think that I related to Cole's guardedness. I think when you go through some traumatic stuff, it can cause you to become a bit emotionally reclusive. And I definitely identified with that, despite myself. But I guess the inspiration that I had with Cole too, on the plus side of that, is using the people around you as that sort of emotional safety net, and to really work at allowing yourself to be vulnerable with those people that you are safe with, you know. So I think those were the big things I really connected with Cole, I would say. And differences, I'm not a very handy guy. Cole is. Unfortunately, like I'm decent with all this stuff. I guess we show on camera, I'm screwing things together, and I mean, I've slapped up some drywall, but like, I really wish that I was a bit more handy. And Cole is my inspiration for that future self that's out there somewhere for me.
Okay. Now, speaking of that, like, so your character's a handyman, and then Kat, your character is writes for a magazine. I'd be curious if you guys have had any favorite character occupations throughout your career.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
I mean, I have played a police officer. I loved that. It was a very different energy from when I auditioned to play this part. I really didn't think I was going to book it because I didn't think I had the like power to have anyone believe that I could be a police officer. And it really was an incredible experience for me to just like the gear, the belt, the uniform. There is something that is so emboldening when you put that on. That was such a cool experience for me, and I really loved it. And I think I grew as a person getting to sit in that character's occupational power, but like not in a bad way, because I don't mean in an abuse of power, but I mean just having to be like an authority figure. That's, I think, what it was for me, is I really never thought I could pull that off, and then getting to have that, I don't know, that energy was really helped me grow as a person on a personal level, and it was really inspiring.
Did you get to do like a ride along at all, Kat? Like,
I did.
Oh, wicked!
Yeah. I did do a ride along with the Calgary Police, and I went for 12-hour shifts. So I went like 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. or something like that.
Man.
It was very eye-opening, and there was things that surprised me not in a great way, and made me really understand a lot of like different levels of policing. And then it was a really cool experience. And I think anything you get to do with characters, when you get to delve into their actual skill set, I always wish we had more time, because I find like everything is it's so rushed. And one of my absolute dreams is to like learn a skill for a part. But actually have the time to do it. So like be in a Marvel movie and get to do fight training for 6 months. That would be great.
Yeah.
But I find any time where you get to, the further a character gets away from you, I just find it more and more exciting. And the chance to sort of learn and practice something, I think that's really cool. I mean, I always joke that the reason I became an actor is because I didn't really know what I wanted to be, and I could just be everything.
Yeah.
And that's still true, however many, like 13 years later or whatever it's been. So yeah, it's that was mine. Sorry, Cody, I rambled on a little there.
No, it's great to hear that. Mine, I think, would be a recent role I played, and sort of going off what you said of that element of research. I got to play a CDC epidemiologist on a show called The Hot Zone Anthrax, and it was awesome.
About this.
Yeah, it was really sweet, because there was a consultant on set as well who had actually worked for the CDC, and he was during the shoot doing consulting about sort of pandemic responses as well too, and sort of the distribution of the vaccines. And so it was like not only cool to research for the role and sort of learn about anthrax, but then like learn about like all the stages of what happens in a pandemic response, basically, because it obviously was super topical, and it was cool to sort of, and a little eerie to be doing that research sort of in the throes of a pandemic. But it's also, it was for me, like, it is a little more rare to get a role, I guess for me at least so far, that was so sort of woven to that person's vocation. So it was a cool, like you said, Kat, a cool ability to approach that and do the research, but just something new, that you're not necessarily playing like an archetype or something.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Now, sorry if you guys are hearing the snow pile. That's why I keep muting. So I feel like that's really okay. Good. But I'll use that as a. Oh, sorry, Cody. What did you say?
No, I just said it's the world of Zoom. I'm sure that I got my heat going and stuff too. It's a necessary evil within the medium.
I'll use that as kind of like a winter transition though, because this film is kind of like a Christmas romance, but not really because it takes place after Christmas. It's kind of this fun limbo. So I'd be curious if there's actually like a genre of romance this would fit in. Is it like Christmas adjacent? What do you guys think?
Christmas adjacent.
I call it a holiday hangover movie. The holiday hangover season.
Holiday hangover. I love it. I vote for that too. Holiday hangover.
Okay, good.
But Christmas adjacent is my new favorite.
It's tandem. We'll use those titles in tandem. Christmas adjacent, holiday hangover. We've created
Join
our own
us
genre right
Saturday
now.
night for the Christmas adjacent cabin connection.
Yeah, no, look, I feel like I've just pitched it.
Good working title.
Exactly. Now, I'd love to ask, just for me, like I love romance that has believable conflict, and I believed it here. So I'd love to know, is that something that you guys look for in scripts? Just for the, I guess the
more
kind of
conflict, the more conflict, the better the script.
Sure.
Always for sure. I mean, I definitely notice. I think more and more as I've like written or developed ideas, I am much more aware of structure. And I think as actors, and Cody, feel free to jump in on with any of your thoughts on this, but I feel like we read a lot of scripts, which I think makes us, and we have to turn out like auditions and stuff. Sometimes we get like less than 24 hours notice to kind of dissect a character, build a bit of a backstory for them if we don't get it, or read a script and like learn a bunch of scenes. So I think you become very good at sort of very quickly identifying if there's archetypes or identifying conflict, because in every scene as actors, you're always looking to play the conflict because that's what makes it interesting, is like the opposites. So I think for me, the more conflict, the better, and anything I read. But I like it. I also think it makes it feel a little more grounded and real. I mean, this is a man who's been widowed and a woman who's been, kind of brokenhearted before, and they're both like really fighting these inner insecurities and sadness and doubt. And I think it's very interesting to play as an actor.
Yeah, like Kat said, it's like that's sort of our bread and butter as an actor, is seeing dramas through the lens of conflict, because that's always sort of the antithesis of what's happening in a story, where we want to see that resistance, I guess. And in these Hallmark films, it always sort of takes the form of like a misunderstanding, but like you said, it has to be sort of grounded within the story. And yeah, sometimes it's maybe not quite as believable in these films. I found this one was a little easier to play because it sort of comes off a genuine moment. And sure, there's maybe a setup that people on Twitter were coming to Cole for, but I found it was fairly easy to play given the character and then given sort of the response to what was happening in that scene. So
I think I have time for one more. So I'll just ask Kat, as I was going through the research, I noticed on your Twitter account that you hosted like kind of like a live Twitter conversation almost, or hashtag for cabin Erpers. So how much fun are those for you?
They're awesome. I mean, the Erpers is a fandom from a show called Winona Earp that I worked on.
Right.
And it's created a really beautiful, amazing community. And they always, when they tweet, we really, most of the cast, we like to do the live tweets, and it's something that we did when Winona Earp was airing, and then something that sort of carried over when we started working on other shows. So my castmate Tim Rozon was on Surrealator, and Melanie Scrifano was a director on Surrealator, and so they tweeted Surreal Erpers, I think, and then there was Good Erpers when I was on Good Witch. So there's always a way to use the hashtag to sort of help people find each other in the live tweet, so they know that they're sort of coming from the same fandom, essentially, kind of the same tribe, which I think is like really awesome and lovely. So it was very fun. Yeah, and Cody was on there too, and I had a lot of fun. Cody, I hope you did too, doing the live tweet. How was that experience for you? Had you done much live tweeting before? I didn't even get to debrief with you.
It's funny because like I've done a little bit, but like you have such a massive following that it was crazy how unbelievably like interactive and
Yeah.
kind of personal and genuine. It's like I felt like I was in a living room with like 500 people. Like, but I mean that in the sense that it felt like sort of weirdly familiar. And I'm obviously like, I like to sort of add funny quips and stuff like that. But it was great watching people sort of take these tweets and kind of running with it. And yeah, it was like quite an immersive experience in terms of sort of taking up the value of that whole premiere for me. So thank you for bringing
oh
me
my
into
God,
that.
it's a pleasure. I'm so glad you got to join. And it sort of does that. Like, I don't know for me, when we were talking earlier about the live quality of having an audience, like that for me is sort of the live tweet, because you're seeing people in real time react. And you're like, oh,
yeah, it's
wow,
very much
they
like theater.
saw that. Yeah. Or they appreciated that, or that made them laugh. Or I'm like, how rewarding is that? Because I mean, that's why we tell stories. It's to help people connect and have an emotional experience. And that's the whole point, since we were doing it around campfires. So I'm very glad that you got to experience that. That is awesome.
And it was really cool for me too, because like when you do a film, like some people really like watching their own stuff afterwards, but I'm kind of like, I've already acted in it. Like I maybe need to see it once. And it's like, what the joy that I get out of it more genuinely is seeing these other people's reactions. So when you're seeing it live and everyone's little individual point of view on things, it's so exciting to sort of fold that into the whole experience. And in that way, like that's how we can give away the film in a way. And it no longer belongs to us, it belongs to everyone else. And I love that kind of philosophy. And you see it in an experience like we had on Saturday. So yeah, it was really, really sweet.
I love that.
Yeah, I love that too. Thank you I just love that community. So that's awesome. Thank you for
Daniel, for
unpacking that. And thank you all for chatting with me about Cabin Connection, Cody and Kat. I'd love to congratulate you on the release, and hope you enjoy the rest of your interviews today.
Thank you, Daniel. Have a great day.
Yeah, take care. Enjoy the snow.
Bye.
Oh, I will. Thank you.
Stay
Great meeting
inside.
you guys.